Awesome. All right, we have a packed agenda today, and let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Ally of the Month call and monthly remote member meetup. Hope you all are feeling the Christmas vibes already. This time of the year is all about gratitude, and today we are here to celebrate the people, pillars, which makes our community stronger. So please feel free to raise your hand towards the end of the call if you have any question or drop your thoughts into the chat window anytime during the call. Our community is global, so that the session is recorded for those who can't join us live. And we have an exciting agenda today. So we're going to start with welcome, which is I have already done, then the board members, and then highlights of the each of the pillars and plan for the 2026, like what we are planning in terms of each of the pillar activities. And then we are going to jump into the ally of the month with incredible allies and interesting conversation. Right before we start the conversation and board members, quick introduction to the board members. Alicia Pritchett, she's our president and founding board member. Megan Wagner, she's our president and she heads our mentorship pillar consistently from last 7 years. Florence Aguma, she is our speaking engagement head, and Megan Davis, she is our membership and community head. Polly heads our education pillar, and myself, you all know, I head the allyship pillar. Incredible news before getting into the highlights of the year. I would like to share the exciting news with you all that we won the Diversity and Inclusion Award at the Big Wrap Up Awards in Bristol this month. This award is a kind of a celebration for the organizations those are making the streaming media industry more inclusive, creating the real impact, creating the real change, opening the doors and amplifying the women's voices across the industry. And huge congratulations to our members and board members for building such an incredible global community. So let's start with the pillar updates. We're going to start quickly about our membership. So, for those who are new, for the new members, Women in Streaming Media is a global organization focused on increasing diversity and giving more visibility to women leaders within the streaming media industry. And to do this, we organize the events, meetups, and we have the different pillars. Our membership is free and gives the access to amazing global network of women in streaming media and connected industries. This year, consistently, we have been sharing the monthly updates and hosting industry guest speaker to keep our members engaged and inspired. We had a really great opportunity to meet our members during the IBC, and we had a really great engaging conversation with the industry leaders in AI, law, and technology. It was a perfect opportunity for members to network with the curious leaders and women in streaming media members across the globe. And big thanks to Erdato and Loopers Insight, for making it happen for us. Let's see what are the updates from mentorship pillar. Mentorship is such an important aspect, and WSM mentorship programs supports the professional women in streaming media through education, empowerment, and connection, helping them to grow mentoring and networking opportunities. Mentorship Pillar is running seventh cohort, and thanks to the mentors and mentees joining for the mentorship mid program, which has happened last month. We have the seventh cohort, women coming across the globe from the streaming media and connected industries, and the seventh cohort is currently running. We had a really interesting conversation while doing the mid check in during the mentorship cohort, and some of the things which members have shared with us is the definitely challenges and opportunities. It's working in this industry is not always easy. You have to deal with company restructures, redundancies, and find out the ways to stay resilient when workload and pressure increases. And top of that, there is rebranding your skill or yourself or upscaling or even stepping into a new role. And of course, figuring out how to position yourself in really ace the interviews is again a challenge. That's exactly support and guidance our mentorship pillar is providing. Through the mentoring, networking, and resources, to make a difference. So we started the mentorship cohort, seventh cohort, in the month of September. We launched with the introductions with the mentors and mentees, objective roles and responsibilities. In the month of November, we did the mid check in terms of how's it going, checking the current issues and challenges members have, and providing them the resources. We will continue to do the networking and providing more resources in the 2026. So we aim to provide even more networking opportunities, including the meetups before the cohort concludes, to make sure that everyone can connect, learn, and grow. A big thank to Jean Carucci, who is our VP of Mentorship Pillar. Thanks, Jean, for joining today. The next is our education pillar. This year, we wrapped up the season 2 of our Women in Streaming Media podcast. Huge thanks to all the members or leaders who have joined, and IBC for providing the infrastructure, and Peggy for all the hard work she's providing and supporting the audio video on the blog post. This year, we ran a workshop and summer school with Bruce, sharing AI media workflows and inspiring new talent to join our industry. This is not the end. We have the incredible plans for the 2026. So in 2026, we continue to inspire the young generation, and we are so excited to begin the new year in the month of January with 6-month webcast series in the partnership with Simti. We will be featuring some known WSM faces as well as some new faces, all in fresh and new space. And that's not all. There is more coming soon in our education pillar. So keep your eyes on our LinkedIn page and on our website in New Year to get involved and see what's happening there. Let's move to the next pillar. Providing platform in the industry to share a knowledge is such an important thing. Women in Streaming Media has been consistently working on placing the female speakers across the globe in keynote panels, live webcast, and podcast. We are aiming to have the 40% diversity on every panel we are a part of and continue to promote speaking and more networking opportunities for women in streaming media members. This year, we've been almost everywhere in the industry events, whether it's an NAB show panel, whether it's a IBC Stream TV show, Miley High Video, NAB Streaming Summit, we were everywhere. And it's not the industry only. These are not the events we are only targeting, but we are trying to get the more and more industry events, providing the more opportunities for women in streaming media speakers to share their knowledge with the industry and be a part of this incredible industry. For the 2026, we have really strong priorities. In 2026, we are growing Women in Streaming Media speaker engagement team impact with more events, more meetups, and refreshed speaker program. If you're interested in sharing your expertise, contributing to the industry growth, and getting more involved as a speaker, please share your profile with us and let us know the areas where you can contribute, which are the topics you are passionate about, and we'll be happy to include your profile in our speaker database. We're also expanding our volunteering team to build a sustainable speaker program. The aim is to create collective impact which is scalable, sustainable, and aligned with Women in Streaming Media's mission. We are building a global speaker database, and we would love to have more of you involved, whether as a volunteer or as a speaker. Allyship pillar. So, over the last 2 years, our allyship pillar is helping to create the awareness and develop a supportive network of allies within the streaming media space. Through our Ally of the Month, the discussions, conversations, we are building a valuable network in the industry to drive the cultural change, make the streaming media more inclusive for everyone who is involved. By celebrating the global inclusive leaders month on month with Ally of the Month, learning from the different leaders, we are keeping allyship active throughout the year. This conversation is not just for one panel, we are keeping it involved in the industry throughout the year. We got the more than 24 leaders from different organizations globally involved with us. Not only the leaders, we are also trying to do the collaborations with the resources. Like we did the collab with the authors of Good Guys, a book which is all about how men can be a better allies at work. This impact is we're bringing more and more conversations from the industry leaders. The impact of this work is we had two allyship panels during the IBC 2025, all focused on allyship in IBC Talent Program and Partner Program. The one panel was all about inclusive leadership, challenges, and opportunities, how the leaders can make more inclusive teams and make sure that it's a part of culture. The second panel was all about sharing the real stories of commitment with the allies and women in streaming media members on the stage. We are continue to grow our vibrant ally network, celebrating their impact through the initiatives like Ally of the Month, promoting more inclusive leadership. For the 2026, we want to continue to do the Ally of the Month. The reason is we are having this conversation and creating the more awareness. We also aim to strengthen the collaboration of allies across the women in streaming media pillars, not just the allyship pillar, but how we can collaborate with the other pillars, such as speaking engagement pillars. Say no to the panels where women or diverse speakers are not there, or in the education pillar, or a mentorship pillar. So we continue to grow a vibrant ally network, celebrating their impact throughout the year with the Ally of the Month and promoting more inclusive leadership. Because these leaders are not just defining the culture, but they're also creating the future leaders. So it is extremely important for everyone in the industry to create that culture, to create the more awareness, and make sure that you have the advocacy at each step in the industry. So each month we have been kind of working on these conversation, learning from the different leaders. Different leaders has a different experiences, and we get to know the different aspects of the allyship, not just a one-time action, but how a individual communication also can make a difference, and that awareness is creating an impact. We started 2 years back. We started the MAD Award. Each month, we spotlight an outstanding team member through our MAD. MAD is not mad, MAD is a Made a Difference award. It's the award which celebrates who are individually making an impact within the different pillars. These are the people who are working with our board members to make sure that the whether it's a speaking engagement or it's a mentorship pillar or whether it's a allyship pillar, they're constantly working with us. And this month, we are recognizing all the different team members who supported our pillars through their hard work, collaborating across the functions, and huge, huge, huge congratulations to everyone. Sinia, Najma, Yulia, Michaela, Emily, Thank you so much for your hard work. You inspire us every month to make the more efforts and make this community vibrant and more inclusive. So, getting into the new um, month, and this month's our Alive the Month is organization. It's time to acknowledge the organization and people who make our community stronger. Today, we are celebrating Christy Media and people involved who truly inspire and represent what it means to be an ally. Christy Media is deeply involved in broadcast and media and technology recruitment space. They work globally across the traditional broadcasters, live production, increasingly with the streaming media platforms. And the best part or interesting thing is Christie Media team's 60% of their team are women. It's not just the 60% of team, but 50% of their senior leadership team are women. And this is the kind of allyship and inclusivity we would love to see across the industry. So welcome Christian Megill and Tiffany Alef on the Ally of the Month call. So I would like to start with your journey, like if you can elaborate slightly, Christian, about your journey, Christie Media, how it started, and your global impact and network.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dipali. Yeah, welcome and hi. Yeah, I've personally been working in the industry now for over 27 years, which is quite scary, just within the broadcast media recruitment space. And then back in 2003, actually kind of went out and started Christie Media with a vision really of being a global, recruitment business servicing the media space, particularly focused really within the broadcast and digital sphere. Obviously, with that, over the last, I guess, journey, it's a constant evolution of technology, really. From I've worked on early projects, which was in interactive TV, the red button was kind of in the early stages in broadcast engineering, and then being part of that journey, really, particularly in the last 10 years, and there's been rapid change to cloud infrastructures and streaming platforms. So, we've been a big part of the industry, I'd say, and part of our journey has been also doing that globally as well. So we've worked on lots of assignments from Australia across Middle East to kind of Europe and out to kind of the US. So yeah, at the moment, it is a challenge, I'd say, in terms of the industry. It's constantly changing. And I think some things you highlighted at the beginning, Deepali, is, similar in terms of what we're finding within the industry at the moment. As a service provider to it, we have similar challenges to everyone working in the industry as well. So it's constantly trying to, as a team, to keep updated. And as part of that, obviously, has been a huge piece for us in the last 10 years, not just obviously wanting to work with you guys, but we work with other organizations who real focus in this is bringing that diversity and inclusion part to the forefront of people's minds. And I know, handing over to Tiff, really, she's got a really interesting background. It's not just sort of Tiff and myself with this. A lot of the other guys have also worked. We've been on panels in the past, and it's something, obviously, when we were asked by you guys, it's something which we'd love to be part of for 2026. And Tiff in particular, I know she's really passionate about it. So I'll pass over to Tiff.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, Deepali, as well. That was really good to kind of see where the year that you've had as well. And hello to everyone as well. I know Christian just mentioned I've got a bit of an interesting background, but I came from TV production. So I spent 10 years in the physical kind of content creation side of things, working in the UK and also in Australia before moving into the recruitment side of the industry. So I've always had a passion for inclusivity, diversity, championing people that haven't been able to get into the room, and just really kind of advocating for diversity and for that inclusion. You know, I've worked in a number of environments that have been quite heavily male dominated, whether that's working with the more technical teams that tended to be quite male heavy in terms of camera, sound, audio, and just having to step into that room and lead technical conversations about where they're going and the rigs and the structure. I just always have found it really important to have people championing those voices that don't always get into the door. So that's certainly something that I've brought into kind of a company that already had those morals at the core anyway, which is Christie. So yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking to continue expanding on, continue having these conversations on, which is why it's really great to speak here with all of you.
Excellent. And I'm going to stop my screen sharing so that we can jump into the AMA session. All right. So to start with, I would love to know, Christian, from you to know, like, can you tell us about the Christie Media's journey and what has inspired you, your allyship journey, looking at the numbers, like, in your team, in senior leadership team, there is a definitely, allyship, there is advocacy, and there is a intentional efforts to ensure that there is a balanced and diverse team. So what is that inspired you to create such a incredible balanced team?
I think, I guess, from a personal point of view, I've always, I guess, had that value in terms of that balance in starting Christie Media. And I think even from the very beginning of our journey, really, as obviously it was, I guess, solely me starting it to begin with, but quite quickly then was obviously bringing in good people around me. And yeah, that, and I've never kind of really looked at it that way. It's very, even within our industry, I think within the recruitment space, it is quite male dominated in a lot of our competitors, so I think it is something which I've always been very proud of. I'm also a father to 3 daughters, so again, this is, I don't have any boys, so I'm purely see it from I'm looking at their future as well, really. It's something, and obviously since I've been on that journey in the last 10 years, I've become, it's become even more at the forefront of my mind, really, that it is so important. And I think it kind of coincides with the way the industry is kind of is leading that change. I think we have seen, we've definitely seen a lot of our clients of definitely more aware, I would say. It's just, obviously we're going to talk about this topic today in terms of how we can look to champion that further, but and ways in which we can do that. But I think there's definitely been a shift. I think from even the last, going back 20 years ago, and I'd go to some of the vendor, conferences, and it was, you'd literally sit in a room. And at that time I was young, so I felt outplaced myself, but I'd sit in a room full of quite stereotypically, but white-haired men, essentially, who are kind of heading up all of these conversations at all the shows. And, again, you would cringe at times, at points, with sometimes the things people would say. So I think there's been massive change. It's definitely been really good to be and see that within the industry. But I think from our side, there's still lots to do, really, in terms of getting that balance back. I think from an SLT, what we call it, so our sort of leadership team, it's actually we're actually slightly more female. I think it's like 55% female to male. So, and again, I love the balance, really, in terms of you do get different perspectives across the team. And yeah, I've just been, I've seen, from a recruitment point of view, from our side, that blend has been kind of perfect for us. And again, we have, people have been on the journey. We have quite a long tenure in terms of our team, and people obviously become very close to over the last 20 years. But we've had a number of our team have been on a journey from graduating through to starting families, and then you've got all of that sort of, you can see all those things, I guess, and the pressure put more on the female, perhaps sometimes within those family structures. Again, then I've seen it as our responsibility to obviously still allow those people to kind of develop, within our structure, and not have barriers that, that they can, or they are part of our management team as well. And I've been, a big champion of that because I've obviously seen the difference in terms of in terms of what people can offer us as a business. Really, I see it so important.
Yeah, I think the recruitment overall, the way industries are blending and kind of connected, a lot is changing. And from the recruitment point of view, I would love to know, like, how do you distinguish between the recruitment pipeline and a sponsorship pipeline? And why
Mm-hmm.
does it matter? Because you can't bring the balance or diversity organically. In the current world, the way numbers are there, and I see the diversity in the industry, I think there are intentional efforts. So, how do you distinguish between a recruitment pipeline and sponsorship pipeline?
I'd say, like, from a recruitment pipeline point of view, obviously we find, I guess, from just in general, really, I guess, from a natural basis, really is, I guess it's kind of probably is more male dominated in terms of those applications, I guess, which we see. And I think one of the important things we see, I guess, on the sponsorship side really is us then really being, identifying people within the industry to try and champion. And I think we do that. I know that we do that as a business. That if we obviously, we see, good people, then a big part of us is obviously then trying to identify companies where those people would fit. So it's not a case of I guess we never really work in a way which is sort of passive. It's always on the kind of proactive perspective. So from that sense, it would be looking at our clients, finding, a good CV, and then in terms of where we can present that person to. I don't know if Tiff, you've got any further thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I think we sort of have the two sides, obviously. So we have active roles that come in from our clients that we will send candidates to, but we also have the other side of, even when I was at the Women in Streaming event at IBC, I had people come up to me saying, I'm not actively looking for a role, but it'd be great just to talk through, anything that might be coming through. And it's just having that awareness of the client base that we have or that we're looking to have, and saying, I had a really great conversation with this person, and I know you don't have an active role at the moment, but I think it'd be really interesting to speak to them. And sort of looping back to what we said about really putting people in rooms that they might not be able to get in themselves. When you look at how many applications are presented to, individual companies, and they could have hundreds of applications, and they're just, whereas we're saying, look, here's someone we've spoken to, we know you, we know the skill set they have, we know how they could benefit your company. And we have those relationships with our clients to be able to put people in rooms and talk about people that they wouldn't normally be able to do themselves. So it's just our whole team are aware of that, to present people to clients who might not necessarily have applied for that role, but who we can say, here you go, put them in the room, have a conversation with them, and really champion them from that side.
That is excellent. And I think that's the very, very important work, because the way currently, if you see the applications on LinkedIn or any of the job portals, is like the one job position and you see thousands of application, and you practically, human or ATS or any system, cannot evaluate the right candidate through those systems. So in such situation, your or Christy Media's role becomes more critical to find out that balance and to highlight or spotlight that candidate who is already there. And when it comes to deciding whom to sponsor or champion, especially like we in the Women in Streaming Media, we try to give the more visibility to women leaders and try to provide more opportunities. So when you're deciding whom to sponsor and champion, what key qualities you look for an emerging leader?
I think this is a really interesting question as well, because I think for me, it's not, let's say, it's not just leadership roles, but when you're looking at the qualities of candidates who you think you could step into a room and they could develop a team around you, and you could carry on these conversations within that space. Anyone who's willing to put themselves in a situation that has been stereotypically male, or has been, that they might not feel as particularly kind of open yet, but are willing to say, what, if I step into that room, I can then start to bring people in and just diversify the space. So really, when we're talking to candidates, I've had some really amazing conversations with women who are starting to say to me, what policies do they have in place at the moment? What's their view on diversity within the workspace? Do they have any set standards as to headcount, and what does that look like? And those conversations have only more recently started to happen, where I've been talking to female candidates for our C-suite management level roles who are saying to me, can you go back to them and ask them what their policies are and talk to the client about how that works? Or they go into the interview and say, I'm really passionate about this. Do you have a mentoring scheme? How does that work? So I think it's those qualities where you're willing to put that forward and the confidence to say, this is really important to me. Do you have that matching kind of moral center for the companies too, is something that we will always push and always champion for candidates that we speak to.
Yeah, and I think on the client side as well, I do feel like we can obviously hold a lot of influence there if we build up long-term relationships. So again, I know that's something which we do again encourage your team to do, but I know I do it myself, is obviously really trying to look at are there particular, I guess, in terms of leadership, women in leadership who could have a path into an organisation, and they might not have everything that they're currently looking for now, but I think that's something which we definitely do to say, look, this person is brilliant, they've got all of this area, they might be missing this part, but this would be a great chance for them to kind of develop into a leadership role.
That is amazing, and that's where we need, to see the beyond CVs, because CVs might say anything, but people, when you see the potential, it's far more, and it can take you too far ahead. In terms of the guidelines, like how can women in streaming media best demonstrate their long-term potential for the leadership role? Any guide or any tips? We would love to hear from you.
I think again, it's a really interesting question, because I think if you're being a woman in a leadership role, so having been in quite a senior position previously in terms of the productions that I would work on, it was understanding what my experience and what I can bring to the table. I think too often, myself included, and obviously a generalization, but women tend to not champion themselves in the room because there's been almost such a fight to get yourself to that stage and to be able to have those conversations and be able to be in those positions. Sometimes we sort of shrink ourselves, but I think the biggest thing I would say to anyone in a leadership role is knowing your value and knowing what you can bring to those conversations, and just really understanding, even from your language, even the language that you use about yourself, the language you use in a room, not saying, oh, I hope this makes sense, or apology, no, it's just, does anyone have any further questions, or the kind of assertive language that you're using, and just really understanding your value in that room. I think I would always say is a tip that I would give. Understand your worth and know why you're there in the first place and what you can bring to the table is what I would say.
I think that was like self-confidence as well, isn't it? Really, it's kind of really believing yourself, because I think there's a lot of organisations out there that are looking for this, and they want that representation. And I know then it is then sometimes, again, Tiff and I have discussed this really. I think there sometimes can be, for whatever reason, but it's probably deeper. But to having that self-belief that you can be part of that, and I think that when we sometimes have these conversations, I think not all, but I think some people, definitely more kind of women, sometimes can doubt themselves there. And it's probably because it's more of a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is certainly a male-dominated industry, and we don't communicate enough about our achievements, and that's the truth. And I can, vouch for myself. Like, I always try to stay low lie, and that's what I see around the couple of events happen in my life. But the data is like, there is a very gray area, and not lots of data is available. But I've seen a couple of reports from the industry and recent diversity data. It shows women are still catching up on the pay equity. what are the strategies do you recommend to our members for the confidently negotiating the salary or promotions? Because as you also know, like we don't acknowledge those efforts and what value we bring it to the table that effortlessly. So any advice around negotiating the salary or promotions will really help us to, nail the next promotion or salary.
Yeah, I think from obviously it's a slightly different position for us because if you were coming through us, then we would be part of that negotiation process, which is something obviously then we would be looking for parity then because we know the budgets because obviously being through all that at the beginning, so we'd obviously be making sure that individual was rewarded at the right level. But yeah, I don't know, Tiff, in terms of like directly.
Yeah, I think, like Christian says, for us it's slightly different because we will have had that conversation with the client of what is the budget here, what's the maximum that you'll go to. So we almost bring that to the candidates themselves. I think I've had conversations before with candidates who have said, oh, well, that's way higher than I'm on at the moment, and they're on similar positions in different companies. So it's going, they're like, I wouldn't want to be greedy. And it's like, well, it's not about that. It's about, yes, you might be on that now, but this is what this company is offering, which, although it's higher, doesn't mean that you're not worthy of that salary. So it's just, and I think it's really honest conversations of, companies that you're in or corporations that are out there as to if we're bringing somebody in on this level, do you have a male in this level at the moment? And if so, what salary are they on? Are there differences? Do you have a structure that you stick to? We have some clients that have really strict levels. So it's like they'll come in at this, but then they'll go on to this. It doesn't matter who you are or, how long you've been there, etc. This is the level, this is the pay. So it's just continuing to have those conversations and not being scared to say, is there room for more? Is there flexibility? If there isn't, what is the absolute, having it in your head, what you are willing to accept? So again, I think that comes back to confidence, right? To be able to have the confidence to say, okay, this is what I'm on now, but is there room for flexibility? And having those conversations just openly with companies.
I think it's like knowing your worth as well, or kind of knowing your position in the market. Because I've actually quite reversely, I've had this recently in the last year where we've had some engineers, female engineers, and they've had a lot of options because people are really keen to bring that diversity into their teams. So it's actually worked the other way that people have had to find extra in their budgets because people have had 4 or 5 different offers on the table, which is a nice position to be in. But I think that was the other way around of it. I guess knowing your position, that and believing in yourself to actually stand firm to say, well, no, actually, no, I'm definitely worth that because you're a valuable part of the industry at the moment. I think in terms of people wanting to make that change.
Yeah, I think that helps when you are entering into the industry. Like you are there, like people like yourself are there, and you are entering into. But when it comes to the promotion, it's like you are dealing in a situation where you don't have any such kind of support. So in that area, when asking for that, uh, desired promotion, how you can position yourself? It's just the confidence, or do you also advise to work on the data, some pointers, or developing allies network so that when you are not in the room, someone else is there, your advocate is there who is speaking for yourself?
Yeah, it's certainly something as part of our partnership would be more than happy to kind of provide is to provide that data for members. If they are in that position, they're looking for that to know to get a wider perspective, I guess, of the industry in terms of what they could be asking for at the level that they're at when they're going for that promotion. Then yeah, definitely is something which we'd be happy to support with.
And I think it's something we've done in the past as well. We often get clients coming to us saying, could you benchmark this type of role? So because we're in a really unique position where we're working consistently on roles across a range of different clients. It's not just one client and their kind of structure and their salary range. It's a range of different companies with a range of different responsibilities and salaries. So we're in that really unique and fortunate position and we can say, yeah, this is what has been offered elsewhere, but it's very similar. So I think you could absolutely go for that. Or we know what budget is on the table. So if we know if there isn't any more flexibility, we can be that advocate. But kind of circling back just to really just from my personal perspective of what I've kind of done when I was in TV, and being the difference between, let's say, a production coordinator and a production manager when I was working my way up, it was really those conversations of going, I know that I am ready for this, and I know that I've done my time in this position, and I know that that's the logical next step. So it was pulling kind of my manager in for a conversation to say, where do you, in terms of bigger picture, where do you see my progress going? Because I see myself here. Is that aligned? And if that is, then the salary banding would increase. So I've been able to have those conversations without having someone in the room kind of championing me. It had to come off my own back to say, I know that I've done this and I know I'm capable of it. So can we talk about where you see it, and are we aligned on where my progress is going to go? So that's just my personal kind of experience. Obviously, everyone's is going to be different and every corporation is going to be different. But yeah, and then from the Christian Media side, like Christian said, we've done that before where we've said, here's a benchmark, here's what we've had. So you can absolutely go in at that level.
Yeah, this is very interesting. And it's also like we always say in the allyship conversation, it's a road is a two-way. So it's a shared responsibility. Like you have to also record your achievements and make sure that you're communicating and aligning within the organization. I have a very tricky question. Like, when you have a data and when you have numbers, it's a very straightforward thing and you can also justify. But when it comes to the allyship, it can be really tricky to measure. Like the meaning of allyship is differ from person to person and organization to organization. And I would love to know from both of you, what is the one piece of advice for the leaders on staying accountable as an ally in their daily actions?
I've already got an answer to this.
Have you?
Can I jump in?
Jump in, you love it.
I would say, in my advice to leadership in any of these conversations is to listen. I think it's so easy for people who are already in these positions of power and of autonomy to think this is the way that we've done it and this is the way we will continue to do it. If it's been working, why are we changing it? But just kind of looking at Christie Media, I came in with these very big, loud opinions and I didn't stop talking about it. And they were listened to and they were, the conversation was opened up and it was being receptive to what people are saying. So I think to continue to be an ally, no matter what position you're in, but particularly with people who have that influence already and have that platform and voice, it's listening to the people around you and just soaking in that knowledge and perspective that other people have. Otherwise, what's the point of having a diverse workforce if you're not going to listen to multiple viewpoints and perspectives? So that's where I've been able to kind of continue my allyship, because I've been listened to and it's been taken on board. So that's what I would say. Over to you.
I think probably a lot of that you just really covered, but I guess really from my own perspective, just trying to think about some.
It's a tricky question. That's a good one, Deepali.
Yes, and I love to ask this question because every time when we speak, like this industry is like, all data. Like when you see the streaming media, it's all about viewing data, subscribers, numbers, devices, content, budgets, and everything. But there are certain things in the industry, if allyship, consider allyship or diversity, those numbers are like hard to find or those are hard to measure. Like, I don't find that transparency in the data in any of the industry leaders where you have the precise number, like how many women are there in streaming media space or technology space or in marketing or each of the departments. So it's hard to measure. And when it comes to the allyship, my learning in the last 2 years is like everyone is ready to help, but they don't know. And the question comes like, when no one is watching, how you are keeping yourself accountable for the allyship. It's
Yeah,
one
I think.
that when you're getting the award or something, but when no one is watching, every single day you have an opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah, I think really on that. I guess us as a speak from an agency point of view, is it just, I guess, as I've said from the outset, really, I think, I've kind of seen it as from our side is kind of us is like we're representing, it's great to say, isn't it? I guess we can sit here and say we've got a balanced SL team, we've got a balanced, company in terms of that split. So I think, I guess I'm always kind of conscious of that. And I think I'm quite proud of that as well, in terms of that's something which when we're having those discussions with our clients is something which we use a lot to obviously explain that in terms of what we are doing, trying to make that difference. So I think we will continue doing that. And I think even, I guess one of our things we've done internally recently is again, to have even more focus on this. So we're involved in a lot of things throughout the year, but like Tiv's kind of picked this up really in the last, 6 months of really being our internal champion of this. We're constantly reminding the team, and she's always sending messages and looking out. We do that very well as a company anyhow, but it's obviously a big part of what we do is meeting people. And like you said, the CV only tells half the story, doesn't it, really? I think from attending events, all the networking, we go to all the shows and members of different bodies which we attend. And I think it's always encouraging the team then to come back and then obviously share those people who they've met. And we always do like an internal memo and profile about this person, and then ideas. And there's a collaborative effort really across the company in terms of where can we help this, person go next in their career. And that's something which we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, this is a great way to, stay accountable for your actions, and it requires a lot of intentional efforts, consistently reminding and making sure that you're not forgetting it with the one action. Um, we have an exciting announcement to do with Christy Media, and before that, I would like to know if any of our members on the call has questions. Just raise your Anuja, please go ahead.
So I have a question. Do you still see I guess a pay disparity when people are applying for jobs? Do people offer the same to men and women, or do they does that change at all the offer?
For us, it doesn't matter if we present a male or a female candidate in terms of the pay. So if we're presenting a candidate who's the right candidate, the right fit, what our client is looking for, we don't ever see, and also from another side, wouldn't accept, I guess, if they're going to say, actually, I'm going to offer this person lower, there would need to be real justification as to why. It could be that maybe they're more junior, and that's that's understandable. If they're coming in slightly lower, that makes sense. But we don't see it from our side that we would present a woman at a less rate because she's a woman, or if it's a man, it's the same no matter who we present, unless it's a case of how long they've been in the role or their experience level, rather than any other factor involved in that.
Yeah, and I think if a client ever said that to us as well, these are my two, we wouldn't be interested in working with them. So I can definitely say that.
Yeah.
Do you still kind of see trends though, even in our industry, where we've got a lot of women working in the industry, but they tend to be more in maybe the marketing or the creative roles, and in the more technical roles, there's very few of us, right? So do you still see that trend, or do you think that's changing?
I think from our perspective, it's easier to find candidates who are male that go into the technical roles. It is harder to find female candidates for the technical positions. I don't think that's any secret, and I think that's something that we're consistently trying to work on. We've also had the kind of clients that say, look, it's really important for us that we're trying to really champion female candidates to, let's say, a broadcast engineer or a streaming engineer, or the more technical positions where they really want to see the female candidates that are out there, because it's the applications that they get are male and tend to be male. So what they want to see from us is find that female talent so that it's so easily visible to us. So yeah, I think it's clear that there is still a lot of work to do to get women into those technical roles from quite an early in from their career, to have an interest in the technical side and to retain them within that technical kind of sector. But there's definitely conversations about changing that and bringing more women into that space, I would say.
I think it's when people are in as well, it's keeping them there. And I think that's one of the areas as well, which again, I know we've had conversations with our clients about, sometimes, particularly, I guess, when, junior engineers are entering the industry, then there can sometimes be that, are those environments ready as well? And that's something with conversations we've had with managers. And it's, Tiff said an example to me the other day with someone she had recently, exactly the same. And I know I've had it previously where, you've had to remind them really then, that environment, it has to be ready for that as well, because it can be all male and they have a certain way of being within their department. And, we have had issues like that, haven't we, when people have started. And then a lot of our role is, as well as a part of our journey, we see that's really important as well within the career, is then being really supportive. So it's not just about placing the person, it's then because that person we place, we're going to have a relationship with them, potentially for the next 10, 20 years. And, again, loving the industry, we want those people to stay, and obviously in bigger part as, within bringing more kind of women into those positions within engineering. And I think there has been issues where the manager has said, oh, wow, that's a great, I've never even thought of that. It's like, we have to think about things to make sure that we are ready as a team for that. So,
yeah, definitely.
Okay. It's good to know.
Anyone else has a question? Okay, so exciting announcement on the collaboration with Christy Media. Tiffany, would you like to share the exciting news with our members?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of our kind of continued journey and support with women in streaming media, what we would love to do is once a quarter, we'll have a conversation with members, or a member in particular, who would like to discuss their experience, what they're potentially looking for next, their skill set, even if it's, could you have a look at my CV, see what you think? We go through CVs every day to see what could stand out, what could be different. And as Christian said right at the start, it's not just Christian and I who are passionate about this, it's our whole team who have so much expertise and so much knowledge within the job market, within recruitment. So yeah, once a quarter we'll have one-to-one sessions dealing with any questions or concerns or queries that someone might have about skill set, CV, etc.
And again, it depends on the skill set as well, because I think some of the team cover more sort of specialist areas, like some might be a bit more engineering focused, others might be they cover more sales and commercial roles, or it could be that they cover more the streaming market in particular. It could be platform developers and things like that. So I could guess there's different members of the team would be the best people to kind of talk to. So again, that give them that accurate knowledge.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with us, because this initiative is all about empowering women to prepare for the leadership roles by getting the knowledge and advice from the expert, by gaining the personalized guidance. It is an incredible opportunity, I must say. So I'm going to share my screen once again. All right. So if anyone has any other question, or we can go into the next session. Okay. So thank you so much all for joining today's call. We are almost on the time. It's been wonderful celebrating Christy Media as an organization, along with the Christian and Tiffany as our Ally of the Month. It's truly inspiring to see your own organization structure, how you're making the intentional efforts, and also communicating to the leaders in the industry who are recruiting the organizations to educate them. It's very, very important task, not just women to say that you need the diversity, but Christie Media plays a big role in this. And it's inspiring to see the journey. It's a great example of allyship in action. You're not only driving the incredible results in your work, but also showing up the support, how to uplift and amplify the diverse voices across our industry. As we head into the holiday season now, Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year to everyone. Our next Alive the Month and Remote Member Meetup is going to be on 22nd January, Thursday, and we would love to meet you again in the next year. A big thank you to everyone who joined the call today. And for more conversations and collaborations, stay connected with us on LinkedIn or on our website. We'll meet next month again. And until then, take care, stay inspired, and see you next time. Thank you so much, Christian and
Thanks, John.
Tiffany.
Yes, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.